Victor Kane had a plan, and Detective Marcus Steele was about to realize just how far it could go. When Kane brought his own backup, no one in Maplewood was safe, and every move the police made played right into his hands. Detective Marcus Steele had faced countless cases in his career, but the Maplewood jewelry store heist was unlike anything he had ever encountered. The city had woken to shocking news. A high-end store in the heart of downtown had been completely stripped of its most valuable inventory in less than 15 minutes. Security cameras captured a man moving with cold, precise efficiency, almost like a professional athlete in motion. Yet what immediately drew Marcus's attention was something unusual. There was a second figure present. This backup was not obvious at first glance. It moved in the shadows, assisting in ways that only became apparent when the footage was analyzed frame by frame. It was clear that the suspect had not come alone and that the second person played a vital role in the operation. The store's alarms had been bypassed with surgical precision, and Marcus could see that even the motion sensors were expertly avoided. Every obstacle that should have slowed the thieves had been anticipated. No fingerprints, no forced entry beyond a carefully removed lock plate. It was as if the suspects had insider knowledge about the store's layout and security systems. The police began to realize this was not a random act of crime. It was the work of someone who had meticulously studied the target and prepared for every possible complication. Witnesses provided vague descriptions, noting a man in a dark hoodie, agile and focused, accompanied by another person who seemed to coordinate without drawing attention. It was unsettling how calm and professional they were, completely unlike ordinary thieves who would panic or make mistakes. Marcus felt a growing sense of unease. This was no ordinary robbery. There was strategy, timing, and a chilling lack of hesitation. Even the staff who had been present were unable to recall significant details beyond fleeting glimpses, as if the perpetrators had moved in and out of reality itself. As the investigation unfolded, Marcus reviewed city surveillance cameras near the store and noticed small details others had overlooked. A delivery van parked nearby that seemed to idle longer than necessary. A cyclist who appeared at the same spot for several days prior to the heist observing the store and recording times. These seemingly minor elements hinted at a deeper network supporting the main suspect. The thought that someone could plan so methodically and bring along unseen backup unsettled Marcus more than he could admit. The city was on edge, residents whispering about the audacity of the crime. Marcus knew this investigation would be far from ordinary. Whoever had committed the heist had not only stolen jewels, they had announced that Maplewood was now a playground for someone with intelligence, resources, and a chillingly strategic mind, someone who brought their own backup. The investigation into the Maplewood jewelry heist quickly revealed that the primary suspect, Victor Kane, was far from ordinary. On paper, his record was almost invisible. Minor traffic violations, a few suspicious but unproven claims, and nothing that would have put him on the police radar for serious crime. Yet the evidence from the heist painted a starkly different picture. Every measure the police had in place to prevent such thefts had been anticipated and neutralized. Surveillance cameras, silent alarms, and rapid response protocols all rendered ineffective, as if someone had studied the system inside and out. Marcus Steele began to suspect that Victor had assembled a team of helpers, but the sophistication of their methods went beyond normal accomplices. What made the case truly unnerving was the realization that Victor's backup might not have been obvious criminals. The investigation uncovered subtle signs of surveillance in plain sight. Delivery drivers, rideshare drivers, and even off-duty employees appeared to have been unintentionally feeding information to the heist team. They had no idea that the innocent tasks they performed, dropping off packages, logging in shifts, or even parking in certain spots, were being used to map the police response and the store's vulnerabilities. Marcus started to understand that Victor's operations were like a chess game played several moves ahead, with pieces the police didn't even recognize as part of the board. Detectives scoured Victor's known locations, his apartment, and temporary addresses, searching for any hint of coordination. There were signs of meticulous planning, encrypted notebooks, detailed charts of the city's security patrols, and even small gadgets designed to interfere with security systems. But the most unsettling discovery came from analyzing the surveillance footage itself. Hidden within the frames were fleeting glimpses of individuals who seemed to monitor the police, watching from across streets, alleyways, and parked vehicles. It became clear that Victor's backup wasn't just assisting him in the theft, they were actively tracking law enforcement, adapting in real time to every move the investigators made. As Marcus delved deeper, the lines between ordinary crime and strategic warfare blurred. The sophistication of Victor's methods suggested a level of intelligence and coordination rarely seen outside military or intelligence operations. Marcus realized that arresting Victor would be only part of the challenge. The network he commanded, his backup team, was embedded in the city, invisible yet present, capable of manipulating events around them. It wasn't just a matter of catching a thief. It was a matter of out-hinking someone who had turned an entire city into a chessboard. With Marcus and his team as unwilling players in a game that could escalate at any moment, the investigation took a dark and unexpected turn when a tip led Marcus Steele and his team to a storage warehouse on the outskirts of Maplewood. The building was nondescript, surrounded by tall fences and overgrown weeds, the kind of place people rarely noticed. Yet what lay inside sent chills down the spines of every detective who entered. Rows of crates were stacked meticulously, each labeled with dates, cities, and the names of various businesses. As the officers carefully opened one, they discovered stolen jewelry, high-end electronics, and rare collectibles, the spoils of multiple heists across the region. What made it even more chilling was that the warehouse wasn't merely a storage facility. It was a command center. One wall was covered with maps of the city, schedules of police patrols, and notes detailing law enforcement routines. Every piece of information that could help avoid capture had been documented, tracked, and analyzed with precision. Marcus felt a growing sense of dread as they moved through the space. Small cameras were mounted in corners, clearly recording not only the contents of the warehouse but also anyone entering. It became horrifyingly clear that Victor Kane's backup was monitoring the investigation in real time. Every step the police took inside the warehouse was likely observed by someone sitting elsewhere, controlling the flow of information and predicting their moves. The thought that they were being watched, while standing in what was supposed to be a secure discovery, made the officers hyper-aware of every sound and shadow. The warehouse also revealed tools and technology that were both advanced and terrifyingly practical. High-end computers, encrypted communication devices, and custom equipment for bypassing security systems suggested a network far more sophisticated than what the detectives had imagined. It wasn't just a gang of thieves, it was a small, highly organized operation capable of outmaneuvering law enforcement at multiple levels. Marcus realized that every previous heist in Maplewood and surrounding towns might have been a test run, a way to refine strategies and prepare for increasingly ambitious crimes. As the team carefully documented the scene, Marcus understood the stakes had changed. This wasn't just about recovering stolen goods anymore. It was about dismantling a network that had infiltrated the city's daily life. Victor Kane's backup had turned ordinary people into unwitting participants, and the longer they operated, the more dangerous they became. The detectives left the warehouse with more questions than answers, haunted by the possibility that every move they made could already be anticipated. Maplewood streets felt less safe, and Marcus knew that the next confrontation with Victor wouldn't be straightforward. It would be a battle of wits against someone who always seemed to be one step ahead. The tension reached a boiling point when Detective Marcus Steele returned home one evening to discover that Victor Kane's reach extended far beyond what anyone had imagined. The front door showed no signs of forced entry, yet something was undeniably wrong. Files were missing, photographs gone, and personal emails had been accessed. Marcus's own home, a place that had once felt safe, had been violated. It was the first clear sign that Victor's network was not only bold but personal. This wasn't just about theft anymore. It was about control, intimidation, and sending a message. The realization hit Marcus hard. Victor's backup team had the capability to infiltrate lives without leaving obvious traces, turning ordinary spaces into vulnerabilities. The city was already on edge after the jewelry heist, but now fear spread through the police department. Marcus and his team worked around the clock, trying to trace Victor's movements, but every lead seemed to be anticipated. Vehicles used in surveillance appeared to vanish, digital traces were deleted or masked, and witnesses who might have helped were either intimidated or unaware of what they had seen. Every time the investigators thought they were making progress, Victor's team seemed to redirect events, creating dead ends that drained both time and morale. Marcus realized that they were not merely chasing criminals, they were engaged in a psychological battle against someone who had planned for every contingency. As the investigation deepened, evidence suggested that Victor's network wasn't limited to theft. There were signs of surveillance on Marcus and his colleagues, unusual phone activity, cars appearing repeatedly near police headquarters, and reports of unknown individuals loitering near the homes of officers. It became clear that Victor had transformed the city into a stage for his operations, and every person, object, and routine could be manipulated to his advantage. Marcus understood that this was no longer a case of recovering stolen property. It was about anticipating danger at every turn, protecting those under threat, and preventing Victor from escalating further. The personal invasion shook Marcus, but it also steeled his resolve. He knew that confronting Victor would be unavoidable, yet fraught with risk. The detective understood that capturing the mastermind required not only precision, but outhinking someone who had consistently proven to be several steps ahead. Every strategy had to be flawless, every move calculated, and every backup plan considered. The stakes had grown exponentially, and Marcus could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down. Victor Kane's game was no longer about jewels, it was about power, intimidation, and the terrifying certainty that anyone could be manipulated, including those sworn to stop him. The battle lines were drawn, and Maplewood's safety depended on one crucial fact: the detectives had to outsmart someone who had turned anticipation into an art form. The final chapter of the investigation brought Detective Marcus Steele and his team to a moment of reckoning, one that would test every ounce of their skill and resolve. After weeks of surveillance, dead ends, and carefully orchestrated maneuvers, a breakthrough came unexpectedly. A seemingly ordinary meeting in a public park, captured by a hidden camera, revealed Victor Kane conversing with a man who, at first glance, appeared to be just another passerby. But further investigation confirmed what Marcus had feared and hoped for. The man was an undercover officer placed to gather intelligence on Victor's network. It was the first tangible connection that could lead to a decisive confrontation. Marcus realized that the plan to apprehend Victor had to be executed with military precision. Any misstep could allow Victor or his backup team to vanish, taking evidence and witnesses with them. The detectives set up a controlled sting operation, using false intelligence to lure Victor into attempting one final heist, a shipment of rare diamonds supposedly en route to a private collector. Every detail had been staged, every potential escape route monitored, and every officer positioned to anticipate Victor's moves. It was a high-risk gambit, but Marcus knew that without it, the network could continue operating indefinitely, endangering countless lives. When Victor and his backup team arrived, confident in their anticipation of police procedures, the trap was sprung. Officers emerged strategically, cutting off every avenue of escape, while surveillance drones captured every angle. The tension in the air was palpable. Victor's calculated calm remained, but the realization that he had been outmaneuvered began to show in subtle ways. One by one, members of his team were apprehended, revealing a network that stretched across cities, a web of ordinary people turned unwitting participants, and sophisticated planning that had once seemed unstoppable. Victor himself was finally confronted, and despite his attempts to maintain composure, the evidence against him was overwhelming. The maps, schedules, surveillance footage, and stolen goods left no room for doubt. For Marcus and his team, the victory was a relief, but also a sobering reminder of the scale of the threat they had faced. Victor Kane had operated with military-level precision, manipulating the city, infiltrating ordinary lives, and turning even law enforcement into unwitting players in his game. As the city of Maplewood slowly returned to a sense of normalcy, Marcus reflected on the case. The investigation had revealed the terrifying potential of someone who could anticipate every move, recruit unseen backup, and execute complex plans with chilling accuracy. While Victor Kane was behind bars, the story left a lingering unease. In a city full of ordinary routines, anyone could be watching, and the line between safety and vulnerability could be thinner than anyone imagined. The case closed, but the scars of the game lingered, a haunting reminder of how far a mind determined to stay ahead could go.